how to treat arthritis from a Chinese medical perspective. This video could be slightly more technical and slightly longer than the blogs that I've done in the past, which tend to be about 5 minutes long. So first of all, what's arthritis? Arthritis is inflammation in a joint, and the reason that it arrives is it's really nice because in Chinese medicine, when I was at school, when I was at college 30 years ago, close to, the teachers there, they used to tell me that arthritis is a problem of the gut. It's a problem of the gastrointestinal tract. And back then, when I was a student, I used to think that that was a bit of a reach. But I realised when I started practicing, yeah, it's true, it is right, it is a problem of the gut, and I'll explain in this video why. But it's really nice because Western medicine has aligned itself with Chinese medicine. I want to say Western medicine has caught up with Chinese medicine. It's so often what happens. I know it sounds crazy, but a study came out a couple of years ago that cited the microbiome of the gut as the cause for arthritis. So why is this? So first of all, what is arthritis? Throughout this video, I'm going to be talking about the knee joint. It's just an example, it can be anywhere. So when you're a kid, the knee joints are very hydrated. They've got lots of synovial fluid. There's no way that this joint, we've got the upper part and the lower part, there's no way that this joint is ever going to get together and start to rub and inflame because the joint's so big. But as you go through the years, the joint can get smaller and smaller and smaller, and when you reach 50, 60, whatever, this joint, the amount of synovial fluid in the joint is much smaller, so it's much easier to start rubbing. And the moment that it starts rubbing, that's when you get inflammation, and that's when you go to the doctors and you get diagnosed with arthritis. The interesting thing about going to the doctors with arthritis, if you look, taking the knee joint, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but if you take the knee joint goes through, or the stomach meridian goes through the knee joint. So the stomach pathway, the energetic pathway, which we needle with acupuncture, starts up here and it flows down the front of the body, through the neck, obviously through the stomach organ, it continues down the front of the leg, it goes into the knee joint and then carries on down to the second toe. That's the pathway. So if you go and see the doctors with arthritis, they will probably say something like, okay, yeah, you've got arthritis, you need to take naproxen, which is a painkiller, and also to protect your stomach, you'll need to take omeprazole as well, because otherwise the naproxen will damage the stomach. Now, as you can see from a Chinese medical perspective, arthritis in the knee is a stomach problem. It's a problem of the stomach pathway. And then the doctors will introduce something into your body that then damages the organ of the stomach, which is already having trouble converting the food that you eat into the daily fluid requirements that the body has. So you can see how these drugs like paracetamol, ibuprofen, cocodamol, naproxen, gabapentin, all these drugs, they harm the stomach. And if you've got arthritis, it's probably going to get worse. I don't know whether I can say probably, it might get worse. Yeah, and you can see this, If you're watching this video and you've got arthritis in your knees, and this has happened to you, and you went to the doctors and they told you to take the drugs, and then 6 months later you've got arthritis somewhere else in your fingers or anywhere, any joint, you probably wouldn't have made the connection that it was because you did further damage to your stomach. But now I'm talking about it, can you see that that makes sense? A human being has only got one method to obtain energy, and that's from diet. So it's absolutely vital that the organs of digestion are working optimally, and if that's the case, they can extract all of the energy that they need for the body to function on a day-to-day basis, and some of that energy is going to need to be converted into fluids for the body. So the body has a really large fluid requirement that it has to find each day. So we're talking about stomach acid, enzymes, neurotransmitters, cerebral spinal fluid, synovial fluid, have I said stomach acid? What else? Grease for the tendons. All of this is aspects of fluid, hormones. It's something ridiculous. You'd be amazed. It's something like 12 litres a day is the fluid requirement for the human body. Now, thankfully, most of that fluid gets reabsorbed, so we don't need to drink 12 litres of fluid a day. But nevertheless, that's the requirement. So if the stomach isn't working optimally, if the gut microbiome is imbalanced, then we have a situation where the body can't meet its fluid requirements, and it will find the weak point. It will give somewhere. And the most common place for this to go is in the inside of the knee joints, because that's where it starts catching. It's this inside bit, and as soon as it starts rubbing together, bang, inflammation, which is heat and water, heat and fluid. With acupuncture, we have a methodology where we can completely turn this situation around, which is, the doctors just don't have this. With the doctors, the first port of call is painkillers. The second is arthroscopy, which is where they tidy the joint up and have a bit of a shave. And the third is really invasive surgery, which is in this case knee replacement. This is unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable, when you can turn it around, and it's not hard, by balancing the gut microbiome. So I just want to spend 2 minutes explaining how we do that with acupuncture. So the first thing we need to do when we see a patient with knee arthritis is you need to take the heat out of the joint. So there are various ways to do that. Acupuncture is a very elemental process. So we work with these forces. We work with coldness and heat and dryness and dampness. And these are the 5 elements and the 5 phases, which I'm sure you would have heard about. So we can either, in the case of the knees, we're talking about the stomach pathway, which passes through the knee joint, like I said. We can either bring cold energy, create it in the body and bring it into the system of stomach, and this will calm down this inflammation. Or we can directly take the heat out. It's perhaps counterintuitive, but acupuncture is really good at taking things out of the body, whatever it is. If it's not supposed to be in there and it needs to come out, acupuncture is really good at getting this stuff out. So take the heat out, introduce cold or take the heat out. The next thing is we need to start to build up the joint. And the way that we do that is we stimulate the production of synovial fluid. Now, synovial fluid is stimulated in a joint by movement, but we need to work on what's behind that. We need to work on, as I've said multiple times in this video, the gut. And so what we do is we bring fresh energy into the system of stomach and the small intestine and the large intestine, the whole gastrointestinal tract, in order to energize it, to maximize the body's capabilities of deriving energy from food. So you can see how important this is, especially the stomach meridian. In some people, this is all you need to do. All you need to do is energize the system of stomach. You need to bring fresh energy into the system of stomach and the arthritis will recover. In other people, they're a bit more complicated and you need to follow a certain map and you have to do things in the right order in order to bring about permanent change. So as I said, what we do first is get the inflammation out. Then the next thing is you need to stimulate the production of you need to direct energy into the system of the stomach, and this will enable the body to stimulate the production, and there'll be a knock-on effect into the production of synovial fluid. So then the joint is starting to get bigger. The joint is starting to pull apart. So these 2 aspects are really important. So this is a process that takes a little bit of time. The older you are, the longer it'll take. I really like getting younger arthritis patients because it's quite often that they've just damaged their stomach and it needs to be rebuilt. But I see my patients monthly, and it really is possible to get to a stage where you're not in any pain anymore. Let's suppose you go out for a walk and you get back and you've walked 3 miles and your knees are agony, and this agonizing pain goes on for 3 days. After a certain amount of treatment with acupuncture, let's say 4 sessions, I'm guessing. And what you will find is that you can go out for that same walk, 3 or 4 miles, and you will get back and you will still be in pain, but the pain will only last half a day. And this is a real, this is something that happens with arthritis again and again, and it's an excellent sign. So I'm really happy when I hear patients say that. But yes, like I say, there is a point where that you get to that that you're pain free, and once you're at that point, then I tend to slow down treatment. I don't see people once a month anymore. I'll start to see them 2 months, and once they can really go, after only not long, 2 or 3 maybe more sessions every 2 months, once they're at the stage where they can go the whole time without any pain, then I'll move it on to every 3 months. So 4 sessions a year is the base rate to keep arthritis at bay. Because once you've reached a certain age, then there is this tendency in your body, especially if it's genetic, there is this tendency in your body to be in a state where you are generating arthritis. And all you need, once they're in balance, is a treatment every 3 months, seasonal, for a year, and that's what's required to keep this pain at bay.